Okay, welcome back everybody. So took a quick break and ran up to Ace Hardware and got some new bolts to fix my valve compressor after I drop everything all over the floor. But what I did is I actually bent the tool to give it a better angle when removing the springs. However, so all the head springs have been replaced and this head is ready to install. So to install a GM head, you're going to need these two. They're like they're head mounts, but what they do is help you line it up, and you have to tap them in very carefully and slowly. And I've already cleaned and prepped the head as well. Now, the important thing about where the head bolts go is that you've cleaned it out and there's no moisture inside there, because that could cause problems. So what I used was brake clean in the hole, let it evaporate, brake clean. I scrubbed it with a drill and a brush, and then I moved the engine over. As you can see, that's the debris from inside. So before I put the heads on, I'm going to do it one more time. Okay. Also too, kind of blow the surface off that you're going to be working in. And one thing that I did is you want to pre-position the number one piston at top dead center, which I have. Plus also it gives you an opportunity as well to check your moving parts and make sure that your rotating assembly is still freely moving. Now, one thing that is really important here is that your surfaces are clean and everything is dry. You don't really need to lube anything until you get to the bolts for the head, but I'll explain that as we go through. So my head is prepped. I've already cleaned the bottom with thinner, but I'll do it again just so that I feel comfortable with the cleanliness of the machine surface. So the good thing about the remanufactured heads is that they are machined to specification for installing, so you know that you have a mathematically true surface. One thing that I'm going to do, and I'm using Felpro bolts, but I think that I got them from Elgin. I'll have to check into that and I'll post it in the video. Then what I'm going to do is put a little brake clean on the towel. You want to be careful with brake clean because it's very corrosive and it can hurt the paint on any surface. And the same with here, to make sure that you get all the lint. And then here is the factory GM specification head gasket. One thing to notice is it's multi-layered and it's marked for the front, and that goes to the front of the engine. Another way to tell that you have it on in the right position is that this tab will be towards the front of the engine. Now that I've placed my gasket on, now I can place my head. And the heads sit down on those guide pins, and we have a good seat. So you're going to have 10 bolts, and they do have like a thread lock factory installed on the bolts, so that's really important. Before we start to put the bolts in, I want to make sure that I have the right size socket, because you have to torque them, and it's a 3-phase torque. And what I mean by that is that you do 30 foot-pounds to begin with, and then from 30 foot-pounds you do 290 degree. I'm just going to double check the factory repair manual, and it says tighten the cylinder head bolts of first pass in sequence, which here is the tightening sequence. To 22 foot-pounds is your first sequence. And then you do the second pass to 90 degrees. And then you do a third pass to 90 degrees. So we'll do, the first pass is going to be 22 foot-pounds. I'm going to put this here to remind me of my sequence. So, one thing, I was watching a video on someone that's really awesome at building LS engines, and he was putting lubricant on the top, and I'm going to do that too, because that will help if I need to change out the heads again. So I'm using Permatex anti-seize lubricant. And then on each side, you're going to have 5 side bolts. They're going to be torqued to a different specification. And that's going to be 22 foot-pounds. So that's just one sequence. And they're going to be done last. Okay, So let's get our torque wrench. And we are going to set it to 22 foot-pounds. The bolts are 16 millimeter. So to begin with, we're just going to use this to get them down fast. And we're not going to tighten them. And I need to set my torque wrench to 22 foot-pounds. On 22. Okay. And you kind of want to stay in the sequence. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So number 1 is this center. Number 2 is here. We'll go a little bit faster. Just be careful. And don't drive it home and over torque it. Just make it a little bit faster for me. So 1, 2, 3. Then we've got 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. So now we're going to torque to 22 foot-pounds. Double check. And you're going to torque in the sequence. Number 1. Maybe it's a 15. So my bad. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5. 6, number 7, number 8, number 9, and number 10. Now I'm just going to back, double check. Okay, now that was our first one, and it says tighten the cylinder head bolts a second pass 90 degrees. So there's a couple of ways to do this, and 90 degrees is pretty easy because it's basically going from this position to this position. But if you want to use your angle meter, and again, you'll start with number 1. You want to set your angle meter where you can sit on the bolt. I want to go to the inside because I've painted the heads 90. Now you'll repeat that process to get all of your head bolts tight. Once that your head bolts are tight, then you'll do the back bolts. So it says tighten a second pass in sequence to 90 degrees, and then we do another 90 on 1 through 8. So we've done 1 and 2. But that's how you use your angle meter. But we know that 90 is a right angle. So I'm just gonna so 1, 2, then we do 3. So we're right here. We're going to want to end here. That's 3. Then we go to 4. We're starting here, so we want to end here. Then we go to 5. Right here. We're starting here, so we want to go here. Change to the big one. Do number 8. Oh, that's a lot easier. Number 9. And then number 10. And it's important that you go slow so that you can keep track. Some people will put a dot on their bolts. I don't want to do that. All right, so that was our first 90 degree. And then we're going to go 1 through 8. We're going to do 90 more degrees. And then 9 and 10 go to 50. And they usually do these bolts last. So, cylinder bolts 1 to 8 to 90 degrees. We know this is 1. 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8, and now 9 and 10 go to 50 degrees. Number 10. To 50. Okay. And then now we tighten the M8 cylinder head bolts to 22 foot-pounds. Begin with the center bolt and work outward, back and forth. So again, we're going to 22. That's going to be a little bit smaller. Let's see. Let's try 10. Okay, so we'll do it 10 to 22. So alternating, working outward. Start in the center. 22. Double check. All right. So that head is installed. The next thing that we're going to do is I'm waiting on a couple of parts, but I'm going to put all new rockers and the rocker pedestal. I was going to reuse the old ones, but that's where the same friction that the old ones. So I just use the philosophy of, well, if I'm doing it there, I might as well go ahead and replace it. But I'm going to do the exact same thing for the other side of the engine. That's probably it for today. I need to work on baby blue for a little bit, but I appreciate everybody stopping by and checking out the videos. The engine's starting to look really beautiful. I'm excited and look forward to it. I would like to, for part 2, give a shout out again to Brian Tooley Racing, and also to give a shout out to my mother for watching my videos and being my biggest fan. I know I've said that before, but I really appreciate it, Mom. Poppy Larry, I appreciate you watching. And Pop, Miss Beth, I appreciate you watching. Anyway, have a good day, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.